Hello and welcome to State of the Economy, a show that brings you face to face with key policymakers and thinkers. Today we have with us Mr. N C Saxena, member of the National Advisory Council, who has been instrumental in giving inputs to some of the key legislations that we have seen in the last 4-5 years, including the National Rural Guarantee Employment Program, the land acquisition bill, which is still in Parliament, and more lately the food security bill. Welcome to our show, Mr. Saxena. I would like to begin with the framing question as to where are all these big initiatives coming out of the National Advisory Council? Where are they going in terms of producing the impact on the right impact on poverty? The food security bill is already before us. The PDS system, as you said, the NREGA program, which has been on for some years, how are they being implemented?
No, first of all, one must appreciate that there is a need for programs which are backed by legislation and which give a right to the people so that its implementation can be properly enforced. As you know, these subjects, whether it is job creation or food or agriculture, these are all state subjects, at least the machinery is of the states. And in the first 30-40 years after independence, states could not do much in terms of whether it is elementary education or health. So after the 1990s, Government of India had to intervene, and this intervention means more money for these programs, but implementation is still with the state governments. In order to ensure that it is done properly, certain rights had to be created. That is the main rationale why we have a right to employment, right to information, right to Forest Rights Act and Food Security Act.
NREGA, one reads media reports saying that it's a mixed bag. In some states it is doing well, in other states not at all. What's your view, sir?
Well, on the whole, I am also a bit disappointed with NREGA, because the main objective of NREGA was to do drought proofing. That is, we should take up such works which result in proper soil and water conservation, which should lead to more agriculture production.
Some asset creation.
Some asset creation, but asset creation with a view to ensure that these small and marginal holdings, they produce much more than they were doing in the past. But the experience shows that this objective has not been achieved. In fact, the state governments and the implementation machinery, they are looking only at job creation. They are not looking at asset creation, asset maintenance, and ensure that those assets give proper fillip to agriculture production. So that way NREGA has met only a limited success so far.
Is there a need today to decentralize designing of these schemes? While legislation is fine and it is valid, having legislated rights on whether food, housing, education, or on employment.
Well, some of these schemes are highly decentralized. If you look at NREGA, no project ever comes to Government of India for approval, not even to the state government, because district authorities are fully competent to decide the project which will be implemented. Now, you are right in saying that there is a great deal of interstate variation. There are districts, whether it is in Kerala or the Northeast or Himachal Pradesh, where labor is scarce. So, therefore, one should not, first of all, may not have included those districts in NREGA. But even because of uniformity's sake, if you have included, one should concentrate on the poorest districts in central and eastern India, where you have a great deal of poverty, where you need watershed development programs, where you need contour bunding, where you need ponds, etc., which will improve the availability of water and which will improve production. Unfortunately, so far the evidence shows that the impact of NREGA on agriculture production has not been positive at all. In fact, it may have hurt agriculture production because of the rise in wages.
In some states, yeah.
In some states like Andhra Pradesh.
So, do you then agree with this argument that some economists make that states with relatively higher per capita incomes and generally higher human development index, they implement these schemes better? Is that the case?
I don't think one can generalize. If you look at NREGA, you will find that the best state is Rajasthan, where not only the utilization of funds has been very high, but asset creation in terms of maintenance and etc. has been comparatively better. Of course, Andhra Pradesh is number 2, and Chhattisgarh has done quite well in food security. In PDS, you will find Chhattisgarh is one of the best states. So therefore, there is a mixed bag. One cannot generalize that schemes are doing very well only in states which are where the per capita income is higher. In fact, Kerala is one state where per capita income may be higher, but if you look at implementation of health programs or even education, you will find that much of health or education etc. is in private sector now.
Yeah, then why do some states do better than others? What is your insight?
It is firstly because of historical reasons. Some of the states which are removed, which are far away from Delhi, they developed much more autonomy. Tamil Nadu, for instance, they right from 67 onwards, they had this feeling that we have to depend on ourselves. We must, and political parties were also not the all India political party like Congress or BJP, DMK or AIDMK, and both they decided to take up a large number of populist schemes, which are so-called populist schemes, but which are now considered to be.
So you're also in a way suggesting that strong regional parties in states, their political will has also been responsible in pushing some of these
Not
schemes.
Everywhere. I don't think. I mean, political parties, regional parties like in UP have not had that kind of commitment to development as the political parties in Tamil Nadu. So therefore, they again experience varies. But some other states like Himachal Pradesh has done quite well. Mizoram has done very well. So if you look at human development indicators, you find that different states are a different path. Odisha's development in the last 5 years, you find per capita income is rising very fast. But that is not because of pro-poor development. It is because of mining. It is because of industrialization that you find that the net state domestic product in Odisha is rising.
We will take a small break here. Don't go away. Keep watching Rajya Sabha TV. Welcome back to State of the Economy. We are talking to Mr. N C Saxena, member of the National Advisory Council. Sir, you were in the earlier segment we spoke about the various schemes, social sector programs that the government has legislated, newly legislated in the last 5-6 years, and more that are coming. Now, in the larger context of these new welfare schemes, which are trying to bring some level of equity with growth in the economy, I would like to pose to you this question as to where is the process today of identifying the really poor and deprived? The government has recently undertaken this massive survey called Socio-Economic and Caste Survey, which is going to identify on a fresh basis, moving away from the old poverty lines that we have been taking into account for delivery. This survey is going to determine the number of poor for various schemes, the food security scheme, for various other schemes too. Now, I have been told that it's a very cumbersome process, and I've spoken to you earlier. You yourself have been saying that it's going to be a very messy process. When are we going to really identify the poor? When will the numbers come in? What are the problems, I want to ask you?
You know, a large number of our development programs are universal in nature, whether it is Sarv Shiksha Abhiyan or National Rural Health Mission or ICDS. These are all universal. And I do feel that most programs should be universal, because in a country like India, where about 70 to 80% people depend on government support, one cannot artificially draw a line and say that only we will select 30-40%. The experience of running targeted programs like the TPDS has been rather bad. It shows that there have always been a large number of errors of inclusion and exclusion. 60% of the poor are excluded in the present list, and 60% of the cards have gone to the non-poor.
So, how is the new methodology going to include
the new
them?
methodology, I have grave doubts whether it will improve the situation. There are two problems with the methodology. One is that it gives high weightage to being landless. Kerala has a large number of landless people. It will show more poverty in Kerala, Punjab and Tamil Nadu than Madhya Pradesh or Chhattisgarh.
Is it just landless, or are there a set of criteria?
There are a large number of criteria, about 4, 5 or 6.
Based on asset ownership?
Based on asset holding. For instance, it also says that if you are a scheduled caste and scheduled tribe, you get 1 point, which is fine, which is very good. But the impact of this would be that Punjab has 30% scheduled caste population. Uttarakhand has very little, about 10%. So therefore, what will happen is Uttarakhand will show less poverty and Punjab will show more poverty. The other problem with this methodology is that it is linked with census. Now, in census, when a person comes to me and I give my answers, I know that these answers are not going to affect me in any way. He asks me how many rooms I have, what is my educational qualification, etc., etc. Now, once I know that the answers I give are going to determine whether I will get a BPL card or not, then my answers are not going to be faithful. There will be incentive to the machinery to record wrong reasons, and even to the state there would be incentive. So a state which cheats will have more people in poverty. So therefore, we are in a way incentivizing collection of wrong data.
So, how do you solve this problem?
Well, in fact, I would suggest that when the results come out, there's going to be a great deal of dissatisfaction amongst the states. First of all, we should impose a state-wise cap. The decision which was taken by Deputy Chairman Planning Commission and the Minister Rural Development, saying that there will be no state-wise cap, is a very, very bad decision. Because that will mean
cap on what?
Cap on the number of poor people who are in that state. Okay. For instance, today we are saying that 60% people in Odisha are poor. This is according to the NSSO data. Now, what the Deputy Chairman and Rural Development Minister have said is that this cap has been removed. Now, when we do a survey, we will prepare one master list of the entire 120 crore people and grade them, and then find out and take the people from the top. Now, you will find that the top people will be from those states which are not so poor. That will create a great deal of dissatisfaction in the poorer states like Madhya Pradesh or Odisha, when they will find that they are not getting true representation. So therefore, the figure that the SEC data will show will be very different from the interstate figures on poverty that we have.
Okay, so what are you suggesting, that it may go against states which have very high level of poverty at this moment?
That's right.
Like
that's
UP
right.
has 55-60% poverty level. So
yeah, UP perhaps will not will remain where it is. I feel Uttarakhand, Madhya Pradesh, Chhattisgarh, to some extent Odisha and Bihar, their poverty levels will come down, and Punjab, Tamil Nadu, Kerala, their poverty levels will go up from this survey, which is not what we have been made to believe based on the survey of the last 30 years. So therefore, SECC will be throwing more people into dissatisfaction, and ultimately I think the results will have to be either pruned, or I do not know what will happen, but I am not confident at all about the SEC
But
results.
this is supposed to now the result is supposed to come by this.
That is another issue.
The middle of this year.
Well, first of all, government said by the end of 2011. It has not come. It may not be available even by the end of the current year. The reason being that two largest states, UP and Bihar, have not started. UP says we will start it after the elections, and Bihar, for some reasons, they have not started the survey. So that is again an issue.
So, sir, on what basis will the government provide for food security allocation in the budget for 2012-13?
I have suggested to the minister that the best way would be to accept the state-wise poverty figures that we have with us based on NSO data, and increase it by 10%. So therefore, if in Odisha you have 60% people under, and Bihar, for some reasons, they have not started the survey. So that is again an issue.
So, sir, on what basis will the government provide for food security allocation in the budget for 2012-13?
I have suggested to the minister that the best way would be to accept the state-wise poverty figures that we have with us based on NSO data, and increase it by 10%. So therefore, if in Odisha you have 60% people under poverty,
so it becomes 66.
It becomes 66. If Bihar, if Kerala has 30%, make it 33. If Punjab has 20%, make it 22. That will be acceptable to all the states, and on that basis we can roll out.
So this could be a good compromise solution rather than come up with something which makes some states very dissatisfied and some states.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So we'll take another small break here. Don't go away. Keep watching Raj Sabha TV. Welcome back to State of the Economy. We are having a conversation with Mr. N C Saxena, member of the National Advisory Council. Mr. Saxena, we've discussed all the problems that are associated with delivering these social sector programs. Now, I would like to shift attention to another area where you've done a lot of work, where you have to balance the needs of the industry in terms of mining and giving mining resources to the industry with the resettlement of the indigenous population when mining is done and forests are cut. Now, the whole of 2011 saw this great, much publicized face-off between industry and various local indigenous population which were protesting over various mining projects, whether it was in POSCO or in Orissa and Chhattisgarh, etc. Now, where are we today? Have we found a compromise? Has the government brought clarity to this balance that we need between the needs of the people on the one hand for their share of resources, and to the industry which needs minerals and metals to drive growth?
We require industrial growth, and mining is a primary industry. It is a basic industry, and we must give very high priority to mining. Unfortunately, what has happened in India is that the after effects of mining, which could be either deforestation or displacement, have not been addressed very well. You will be surprised to know that Government of India today has about 15,000 crores in a fund called CAMPA, which is meant for compensatory afforestation, but that money is not being utilized. If mining is so profitable as it is, why is it that we have not been able to give adequate compensation to those who are being displaced? So what I am trying to say is, it is very easy to reconcile the interest of miners with the interest of the people. People want jobs, want compensation, and people want forests. It is, we can easily have all these three things. Unfortunately, government has not been able to come up with a good law regarding land acquisition so far, and the funds for afforestation have not been used.
Because in mining, we've had negative growth so far between April and October, for which data has come, which is surprising for a country which is supposed to be growing at 8% GDP every year. So coming to the Land Acquisition Act, now where is the bill lying? I mean, there is the government brought an amended bill addressing various issues of the farmers and people in general. It seems to have further got delayed. Now, what do you think are the real issues in the land acquisition bill?
As you know, these days most land acquisition is not so much for government purposes. It is for a public purpose to be fulfilled by private industry. In other words, a private industry says that they are going to set up a thermal plant or a hydel plant which will generate maybe many megawatts of power, which is a public purpose, because we need power, we need.
Yeah, the definition of public purpose is quite wide.
Has been widened. So therefore, people expect, as they can see that this land is being used for generating profits, so therefore they want to be compensated. The new law, the bill which has been introduced has many good features. First of all, it says that 80% of project affected people must say yes.
Yeah.
When will they say yes? They will say yes only when they are sure that they are going to get a good compensation. So compensation has been increased to 4 times the registered value. Even if you are landless and you lose your livelihood, you will get 2,000 rupees per month or 3,000 rupees per month for the next 20 years. When the land prices go up, then a certain share of the escalation in land prices will be shared with the original owner. So these are all very good clauses. This bill is still lying with the standing committee, and I think the standing committee feels that let the elections be over, UP and other elections be over, and then they will perhaps give their final view.
So basically what you're saying is that even if the private sector builds say a township and widens the road and builds a township around the main highway, it would be deemed as public purpose from the government's point of view, if government needs to intervene and aggregate land for the private sector.
Yes, that is how it should be, because a large number of private industries create jobs, they create wealth, and therefore they are welcome. They are contributing to our national economy. So therefore they cannot buy land on their own, because land records are in a bad shape, because there are too many landowners, because there are people who lose their livelihood. So government must step in. One cannot leave it to the market forces for industry to buy land. Government must step in and ensure that industry not only gets land as early as possible, but those who lose out, they are also have a smile on their face, and they are compensated well.
So coming back to the fiscal implication of all the social sector programs that we spoke about. Now my sense is that in principle, as you said, all those programs are needed, and rights need to be legislated, whether it's in the area of food, education, housing, what have you. Now, but at the same time, you also what came through in my conversation with you is that a lot of these programs need much more sound policy design, implementation design. Now, currently we are seeing a phase where we are actually throwing money on many of these schemes, but do you think we can afford to keep throwing this so much money without addressing the implementation design problem, and how long can we afford to
In fact, there are problems not only in implementation, but also problems in design. If you look at programs like National Rural Health Mission or SSA, these programs are well designed, and once a program is well designed, you will find that even states with average level of implementation, they also do quite well. And as you can see, survey after survey is showing that IMR is going down, that immunization is going up. So therefore, there is positive news on the health front. Unfortunately, many other programs like the TPDS, like the ICDS, Forest Rights Act, these programs are badly designed, and they are not being evaluated from time to time. So therefore, Government of India does not know which states are doing well, which are not doing well. Government of India is willing to spend 60,000 crores on food subsidy. It is not spending even 60 lakhs on annual evaluation in order to find out if Bihar has had 70% leakages in 2007, now whether the leakages have gone up or gone down. So we must name and shame the states. That's the way to put pressure on the states, because implementation otherwise will remain with the states. But what Government of India can do is to put pressure on the states through evaluation, good monitoring, involving civil society, involving the press, and publicizing where the program is doing well, where it is not doing well. Chhattisgarh has done very well in PDS. So why not Jharkhand and UP learn from Chhattisgarh? And what have they done? They can also be replicated. That is where Government of India is failing in its duties.
That is all we have today in this edition of State of the Economy. We will be back with another episode soon. Keep watching Rajya Sabha TV. Thank you.